All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. Let's start that discussion right now. Like I mentioned to you earlier, we've been running a series of the conversations over the last week, trying to find out where the youth are placed. In fact, there's an accusation that Kenyans are increasingly becoming heartless. We've seen that when leaders are befallen by tragedy, there seems to be some level of celebration. So are Kenyans heartless, or are they grieving? Are they intolerant, or do they have genuine concerns? That's a series of conversations we're having over the last 1 week, and we'll delve into that as well in a short while with our guests in studio, including talking about the current political realignments and everything that's happening in the country, getting a pulse from their perspective of what they think is happening and where the direction the country should be taking. My guests are with me here. Victor Marende is here, leader of MDD, that is the Movement for Defense of Democracy. Thank you for making time. Kidi Mwaga is here, is the chair, Inter-Parties Youth Forum. Asante sana for making time. And Wavinya Makai, a development scholar. Thank you very much for making time. We're still waiting for Cliff Mboya, who's a leadership coach. As soon as he comes in, we'll drop him into the discussion. And Nathaniel Mungare, Director Resources Mobilization at the UDA. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we get into that conversation of whether Kenyans are heartless critics, Ruto has nominated, President William Ruto has nominated Etho Khan as the IBC chair to serve for 1 6-year term. And I'll start with you, Marende. What do you make of this team that has now been elected by the president? Of course, the names are now going to Parliament for vetting. But is this the kind of IBC that will deliver a credible election, in your view?
Trevor, good morning, and good morning to our viewers. Thank you for having me here. Now, before I get to your question, the other time I was here, we were mourning our Holiness Pope Francis. And as the Catholic family, we are happy to have Pope Leo. From where I come from, we call him Leo. You know, I schooled in a Catholic school that was founded by Father Leo Bartels, a U.S. priest. And for the first time, the Americans have a priest. So congratulations, and I'm happy for him. But secondly, as the ODM fraternity, we are mourning. And today we have one of the very many burials that are going on within the country. So may the Lord rest the soul of Honorable Sir Charles Ongondo Were in peace. Now, on to your question. Onto whether I think they will deliver. Yeah. That's a very, very difficult question to answer. But my satisfaction is with their qualification, that it's a star team. If you would ask me, star-studded. If it were in the military, in my view, I believe they are 5-star generals. They're qualified. You look at his selection for chairperson. I believe his experience speaks for itself. His academic qualifications are good. Now you look at the membership in the commission. They're qualified persons. But most importantly, I've also seen an attempt to try and include the rest of the country, and the whole country for that matter, so that from every region you would see a member. So that then gives me satisfaction that then the qualifications are right. As to whether they are able to deliver a free, fair, and verifiable election is another case.
It's a wait and see.
Yes.
Wavinya, what are your thoughts on the IBC that has been selected, from the chair to the commissioners?
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'll just go directly to the nomination. I feel they've included the marginalized community, especially having the chair from Turkana. That's a big, and it gives credibility that we are not focusing on the bigger tribes in the country. So we are yet to see about credibility. We are yet to see how they'll do it, because this is the first time they have been pushed into such a center. But I hope that they will be very transparent in the process, and they'll ensure that they serve the Kenyans, not the political class alone.
Okay. Kiri?
We begin with the question of competence. Yeah. And so that I do not belabor the point, I think Marende has put it better, is that the chair, members of the commission are very qualified people. Competence helps in raising public trust. Secondly is the question of the face of Kenya. I think one of the things we have struggled with for a long time in public appointment is over-concentration of opportunities in certain regions. The fact that they've been distributed, again, inspires confidence. As we head into 2027, the ball is on their court. We hope that they do what is right and just by the people of Kenya. Thank you.
Mungara has just come in, so we'll rope him into the discussion later on when we continue with this. But I'd like us to move into something different, the issue of intolerance. But before that, let's play a soundbite from President Uhuru Kenyatta's brother, Uhuru Kenyatta, and then also a soundbite from the former president himself, Uhuru Kenyatta, urging the youth to rise up. Let's listen to what they had to say.
Africa's youth population is projected to reach nearly 830 million by the year 2050. A startling reality. Being not just the youngest continent, but potentially the most dynamic workforce on the planet. Yet this demographic remains, and I emphasize, largely, number one, untapped, and secondly, constrained by systems that were not designed for the scale and speed of change that we now face. We need to urgently refocus. Africa stands at a crucial crossroads. Our continent's trajectory will be determined by how well we prepare our youth for the challenges and opportunities of tomorrow.
You, our young people, will have to play your part in reshaping the destinies of our countries of birth, and you will help us realize that this is the moment for each and every one of you to step onto the stage. Your time has come.
Nathaniel Mungara is now joining us. He's the Director of Resources Mobilization at UDA. We'll get your view on the IBC concern first. But Marende, do you consider those statements from former President Uhuru Kenyatta and his brother Uhuru Kenyatta as inciting the youth?
Trevor, I would not consider them incitement. But I think they've woken up a little too late. Because these are men who've been in control of the country. And one directly, one indirectly. So to come out of power after 10 years to tell the youth to rise up and fight. Now, is it an opportunity to ask the Kenyan youth to fight? Or it's an opportunity to tell Kenyan youth to occupy spaces that are right and to assist them in occupying these spaces? Did he hold enough hands when he was the president of this Republic of Kenya? Sorry to say this, the former president even admitted that he had nothing to do for the youth. At some point when doctors were on strike, he promised that that would be the last time doctors would be on strike in this country. Not because he will solve the situation. So to come up today and tell us to stand up, rise and fight, I doubt if we want a fighting nation. We want a country that is fair and just to everyone. We can't find fairness and justice in fighting. We can't. So in all purposes, intentions and rights, the former president and his brother should leave Kenyans to rest from fights. Because when he was president, he entertained no youth fighting on the streets. He was very ruthless on us. Why would he encourage a fight today? If in any case, we have more reasons to stay behind and sit down, reason, and think through whatever we do than to fight. So I would not encourage, and I would not be in the mood to celebrate a leader telling Kenyans to rise up and fight like the former president and his brother had said.
Yeah. Wavinya, is it time to rise and fight for the young people?
Yes, but still it depends on whose interest, because when you look at history of development in any nation, youth have always been used to perpetuate a narrative, but is it that they're perpetuating their own narrative or the narrative of a political party? Socrates once said that youths are either reckless and dangerous if their energy is not used to ensure that they develop a country. So it's the time that we need to start having a conversation, a dialogue that is supposed to be intergenerational between the older people and the young people. Otherwise, we're going to compromise our social capital, which is actually fragmenting and going south. So it's time to have that dialogue and also ensure that we don't let our youths be used. If they're driving an agenda, let it be the agenda, because we've seen the rise of unemployment, there's no opportunity, and we should start asking, why are we having these situations? What is happening behind the bars? What do we need to do? Because if we don't ask, if we don't assuage the critical pedagogy, it means that we will not be able to go anywhere. And that starts with our education. We need to start questioning what we educate our young kids, because they become youths. And when they are youthful, how do they channel their energy into the system? So that's why we are having all this. The youth must rise, and the political class are going to use youths to drive their narrative. So we should be very careful about that.
Will it be their own narrative or the young people's narrative? Because there are people who say that the young people are aggrieved right now as we speak, that there are a lot of concerns. There's unemployment that you mentioned, education system doesn't work properly, the health system is a problem. When you're told to rise up and fight for your rights, how is that considered incitement? And why do you think that is leaning towards the political interest and not the people's interest?
Because when I am a historian of revolution, I have studied revolutions, and you find that most of the time, the youth's agenda gets hijacked by the political class. You might think that you're fighting because the people who've spoke, they've been in power. What did they do? Did they try to curb whatever we are facing? Because a lot of us out here are unemployed, and we really want justice. But how do we get that? Are we driving our own agenda? We saw what happened last year, but in the midst of it all, the youth came out, but other forces came in and took the movement. So where are we in this agenda? Is it our agenda? Because I am very passionate about youth development. Being a youth, I want to see youth growing. I want to see myself growing, using my potential to rise as a person. But you find that sometimes when you're doing that, other people, other entities, they get in and they hijack the agenda. So if you're rising, let it be a youth narrative, not be based on someone who was there and they didn't actually really do anything substantial to ensure that we don't get where we are.
Okay.
Yes.
Kidi, is this about the message or the messenger?
I think as far as the message is concerned, it is right and proper that democracy can only thrive when we have an active citizenry. Active citizenry is about constant, because democracy, the way it is designed, is there is constant compromise between sometimes otherwise disparate forces. But then again, we will take the message with a pinch of salt, considering where it is coming from. And now that forces us to be a little more analytical, because then the reason why people get into positions of leadership, particularly in democracy, is then to be able to give opportunity to the people who are left out and left behind. In the last 10 years, when both UK and MK were at the helm of leadership, one thing that remains clear is that opportunity continued to diminish for young people in all spheres. In political engagement, the way the power of the state was deployed to crush the bones of young people still shocks the conscience of humanity. If you look at the way the economy was structured under them, it is imperative to note that when Kibaki was living, I think up to 90% of our budget was funded from domestic revenue. By the time President Kenyatta was living, I had a good fortune of looking at the treasury figures last night, and to my dismay that we are spending 7.1 shillings out of every 10 shillings raised out of ordinary revenue to pay debt. Again, it is as a consequence of Uhuru's time at the helm. So I think that we will take that message with a pinch of salt, but then in the same vein and breath, as young people, remember that we have got to remain active and ensure that we are able to redirect our political conversations, because as Kwame Nkrumah once observed, that seek ye first the political kingdom and all else. So yes, thank you.
Daniel, is it time for young people to rise up?
First of all, I thank you for having me. I think young people in this country are very engaged in the political and governance processes in this country. They are very active. You saw the robust engagement young people are having with the processes that are going on in this country. They want to be meaningfully engaged and involved in how they can be able to increase their participation to national building. And I fully support the voices of young people in being organized so that there is a structured engagement with all the aspects of our society. The only other irony that you see from what the two leaders have spoken about is that they want to use the young people to fight proxy wars on their behalf. My colleagues here in the panel have already made very useful points in terms of is it genuine to start inciting young people to disorganize or to disrupt our working system? For example, we from the government, because I represent the government in this bench, especially the UDA party, we are having very robust programs that are engaging young people in different ways. If you look at the government programs that are ongoing, most of the government programs are targeted towards job creation around the young people. For example, if you look at the export of labor, these programs are targeting young people. If you look at the issues of affordable housing, most of the young people who are working on those sites mostly are young people. If you check most of the programs that are geared towards improving the economic lives, is mostly targeting young people. We have a youth bulge, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta said it in the past when he was ruling, that there's a youth bulge that is coming, and he didn't put in place decisive measures or clear government programs focusing on the young people.
Yeah.
So we
are those programs really working, Nathaniel? Because your own economic survey 2025 says that last year you created 783,000 jobs. The promise was 1 million. Your own economic survey says that the houses that were built were 1,655. The promise was 250,000. So are those programs really working? Yes,
because they are working, because you quoted the figures rightly. If you said 750,000,
783,000
against the target of 1 million. I think that's a fair performance because that translates to around 80% performance of that promise, because you can never achieve 100% performance of all your targets. Because it's dynamic. Kidi Mwaga has talked about the issue of the public debt. It is putting a strain on our economy. For every ordinary tax we collect, more than 70% is going towards the repayment of debt. And that's why the government has put in place a debt management strategy to try and create a more fiscal space so that we can invest in more government programs that are targeting the young people. For example, if you look at the entire economic stimulus program that we are having right now, mostly the issue of affordable housing is not about creating homes for Kenyans. Not just that. It is targeting to create more than 100,000 jobs on a daily basis, what we are seeing around government programs. For example, you'll see government is constructing the Talanta Stadium here at Ngong Road. There are more than 3,000 workers who are working there every single day. Most of them are young people. So these are very clear government interventions that we have put in place to try and solve this challenge.
Okay. I have to take a quick break. When you come back, Cliff Mboya will be joining us now as a leadership coach. We're talking about whether youth are becoming heartless critics and what they are aggrieved over. That's a conversation we'll be having in just a short while. At Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. See you in just a bit.